Okay, hello. I did actually record this once already, but I didn't plan anything that time. I'm recording this again. This time I actually just wrote out the things that are worth mentioning. So, if you don't know, I'm here because I wrote a little guide about how I, as like the specific kind of neurotic, negative, self-talky person that I am, like how I set goals this past year and how it actually like worked out quite well for me. Like, I mean, that's not what I wrote about. I didn't write about how great it was for me. But I wrote about the things that I changed, I guess, from how I used to set goals, and how I changed my mindset toward goals. So check that out if you haven't checked that out already. But I said that I was going to go over what my 2020 goals were and kind of what I learned and kind of how I adjusted stuff. It'll get slightly personal at a couple of points, but bear with me. So I also, as I was looking back, I tried to come up with like titles for each of the quarters because I set my goals in quarters. I try to set titles for each of the quarters based on kind of what the overarching theme was. And so my first quarter, back in January 2020, so January, February, March, was that first quarter. This theme was the quarter of getting my shit together. They all kind of tie into that. So my main goal was improve my Japanese. My two mini goals were schedule appointments, so like doctor, vet, dentist, vision appointment, that kind of stuff, and learn how to do my taxes. Those are not interesting, so I'm not going to be talking about those. I definitely did talk about them the first time I recorded. Improve my Japanese. So that goal name is a little vague, right? And, SMART goals, specific, measurable, meet. When I set goals that are like really specific, I panic because like if it's too specific, I don't know, I just stress out, and like if I don't hit it exactly perfect, the perfectionist in me comes out, and it's just like it's not what I want for myself. So I did for a while agonize over this goal name, and I was like, I really need to come up with something better than this. But no, I don't have to do that. And I like mind mapped out what I meant about it. I mind mapped out like how I intended to improve my Japanese and give me steps to do, tasks to do. Like, that worked out pretty fucking well. So I've had a long relationship with Japanese. It started when I was like fucking 17 or some shit, and like I am not currently. I was very bad at being consistent. I would go hard. I was all about extremes, right? Go hard for like a few months, drop it for like 3 years. Take a good 3-year break to let the information settle. And I've always been really frustrated with myself for that, right? And I'll have these ideas of what I should be completing and where I should be in my progress, but it doesn't actually match up with reality because I had not found a way to like sustainably make Japanese a part of my life. That's neither here nor there. That's a little backstory. But the improve my Japanese was in part because I want Japanese to be a part of my life, but also because I had a trip coming up for March. Woohoo! Yay! So exciting, right? So I looked at what I wanted to improve in order to make that trip like easy and fun. So I looked at the things that I wanted to improve to make my time more enjoyable. And menus was the first thing that came into my mind because the first time I went to Japan, that was the thing that fucking got me. I mean, I was a much lower level then as well. And I was the kind of lower level where you think that your Japanese is like pretty good, like manageable or whatever, but that's because you don't actually fucking know. Like, you don't even know how much of a beginner you are. And yeah, there are menus that have pictures and stuff. But some menus just like have a lot of kanji. And you just kind of don't know what they say, and you can't help your friends pick stuff out. So you go to a different restaurant. I wanted to be better at menus, I wanted to be better at speaking, I wanted to be better at listening. So that included, I really needed to up my vocab, and I wanted to listen to like podcasts and TV or whatever to help me out. Speaking, my idea was do italki, which I'd never done before. And then I also wanted to be able to do simple interactions without translating stuff in my head. So that meant maybe looking at Genki some more, because I fucking never finished Genki. Maybe, you know, getting back into Anki, doing my flashcards. And also, you know, looking into specifically language about directions, about shopping, about buying a ticket at the train station, you know, that kind of stuff. So when I was first looking at all of this, and I was like, how the fuck am I going to approach kind of setting myself up for success, like habits wise, like what am I going to do? And I had the idea of, I'm not going to assign myself necessarily like this idea of like, I'm going to complete this textbook and break it down by week or whatever. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus on time. I'm going to do a time-based goal / habit. So I was like, well, if I spend 1 hour every day with my Japanese notebook, that's good, because then I have enough freedom. See, I hate being told what to do, especially if I'm telling myself what to do. So if I have the freedom to choose what happens within that hour, amazing, that's perfect, that's exactly what I need. And I did drop the notebook part. Like, the notebook was not an essential part of my learning. I dropped that eventually, because it's like, you can still be learning without handwriting notes. Whatever. I had beautiful ideals in my head of what studying looked like. It's fine. So, and that actually fucking helped me a lot. I started tracking my time doing different stuff. I didn't need it to be exact, because if I needed it to be exact, then I knew that it would be a disaster. But just like rough, like, oh, are you starting to do your flashcards? Set the timer on. Oh, are you starting to like read a little bit? Like, set the fucking timer, or like estimate how much time you spent afterwards if you don't remember. And it was fucking dope. So I had that ongoing. I didn't hit 1 hour every single day, but I tried to get in at least time. And that first quarter, I think I did actually do some amount of time every single day. I remember being in the ER in January with like severe stomach pains. Like, we thought we were going to have my appendix taken out. My appendix is still in my body. I don't know what was wrong with me. I remember I was like hopped up on fentanyl, and I was like, give me my phone, like I have to do my flashcards. I did like 5 minutes of flashcards, fucking high out of my mind. I received the drugs there for the pain. I did not show up to the ER. Okay. Anyway, this isn't about me, all right? So maybe you should take a hard look at yourself, okay? So what did I do? I did easy tasks every week, because I like to set 3 tasks for myself every week, and then I had the ongoing 1 hour of daily Japanese goal. I started with baby ass steps, like find 5 podcasts to subscribe to, you know, just like baby steps that'll lead you. Gateway, not drugs, okay? Gateway tasks to other tasks. Read a story. Put some direction sentences in Anki. Some people that pronounce it Anki. I don't, Anki, whatever. Fuck off, okay? Do like a chapter's exercises or something. Read a chapter of Genki or whatever the fuck. I also, this was back when I drove to my job, I would do Miku Real Japanese. She has a Patreon and she has shadowing audio. I did those every single fucking day. I did them over and over, and it was phenomenal. It was so good. I did an italki lesson for the first time, and I kept doing them, and it was horrifying. The first time, I like cried for like 2 hours afterwards. Like, I was just so uncomfortable, but it got more comfortable as time went on, and now I love it. And I tested out different routines and stuff. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try doing like 10 minutes of Anki a day. I'm gonna try doing 15 minutes of Anki a day, just to see if, like, you know, if a certain amount is too high, like if a certain amount ruins my life. I don't want to do that, even if the idea is to do all of your flashcards. Who cares? Whatever. I do typically just do all of them. Probably takes like 15-20 minutes. Anyway, so yeah, it was good. I did improve my Japanese a lot because I was really spending an intensive amount of time working on it. And I graduated to Tobita. Very exciting. My Japanese is weird because, like, I've done it for so long. Like, an extended period of time of fucking with Japanese and fucking with different resources. So, like, I have all sorts of weird random knowledge and probably a lot of gaps, you know? So I was doing Tobita and Genki at the same time just because, I don't know, I wanted to make sure I had all the basics for sure. And some of the stuff I had just, like, picked up. But it was also nice to sometimes see, like, explanations, like, oh, that's what I'm doing when I do that, or whatever. So yeah, at the end of quarter one, week 11 or so, COVID happens. And probably a couple weeks before that, I had canceled my trip to Japan. But I just kept doing Japanese stuff anyway. And then, yeah, fucking COVID. So that wraps quarter one, and we had no idea what was coming for us. So quarter two, I wrote the theme as coping with extreme discomfort. Because that's really, I mean, I was just grasping and we didn't really know what was going on. We didn't really know how long stuff was going to be going on. So my main goal was creative exploration habit. Whatever. Mini goals were regular yoga practice. I was desperate to get some sort of exercise because I really was not active and, you know, we were locked up. I'm still locked up. I still don't go anywhere, whatever. And then complete remembering the kanji, which is really quite a big goal, but it felt like a mini goal just because it was kind of straightforward, right? Like, learn 10 kanji a day or whatever. Not really anything to talk about. And remembering the kanji is something that I have wanted to complete for 10 years, okay? This is another book I got when I was like 17, and it's one that I've started and stopped and started and stopped. I've made progress. I've restarted it probably twice. I don't think I'd ever gotten past like 700 kanji of the 2,200 in the book. And honestly, out of all of these goals, that mini goal was like perfect for that period of time because it really just provided structure that I desperately needed. It was really straightforward. Maybe it wouldn't have worked any other time, right? Like maybe that amount of structure would have been really stifling for me any other time, but during this time, it is exactly what I needed. Just like, oh, every day I learn my kanji, and then I'm done. I did keep up italki, and I did spend time with Japanese every day. It was just less time with content and more time with kanji. Creative exploration habit, I kind of do art for my job, design or whatever, and I like to paint and stuff and do crafts or whatever. So I was just hoping to make that more of a regular part of my life. I did some stuff, but it's not a habit. Like, I don't have a habit of it now, but I don't know if I was really in the right headspace. My idea was that it would help me cope. It would help me become more comfortable, maybe chill out a little bit, maybe express myself a little bit. I don't think I was in the headspace where that was really accessible. I was really quite fearful of societal collapse and stuff like that. Regular yoga practice. We did some yoga. It was not super regular. We did some. It was fine. During this, what I should mention, and we're getting personal, folks. My cat, who I've had since I was 10 years old, her health was declining. Remember how we scheduled appointments quarter one? We took her to the vet, and we had to keep taking her to the vet. There were a lot of issues going on. Her health is declining. She gets diagnosed with cancer eventually. It's more or less a hospice kind of scenario by the end of it. Like me just taking care of her until her time to go because she was old. And then I live in Minneapolis, and this is when the George Floyd uprising takes place. So it was a very tense time. It was really quite a lot. There was a lot of weird, like, white supremacist activity going on, like, on my block, because I live, like, north of Minneapolis, and people were coming down from the north into the city to, like, wreak havoc. I won't get into it, but that, like, there was, like, a week of just, like, not sleeping. It was a lot. And then my grandpa's health is declining as well. My grandpa was my closest relative. not gonna cry right now. More like a father to me than anything, and his health is declining. So there was a lot of stuff going on that made creative exploration habit feel kind of silly. I just didn't have the headspace. And so the last day of the quarter, I finished Remembering the Kanji, something I've wanted to do for 10 years. And like a number of hours later, I get the call that my grandpa died. And then my cat died 2 days later. So, I don't know. I was anticipating it, of course. I've experienced a lot of loss before, but these were two really important creatures, beings in my life. And I didn't know how I was going to make it through. I mean, I was just empty, and I was just like, I know that I can go on, but like, I don't know, like it's not gonna feel quite right. So quarter three, I mean, okay, one of the things about me is that I'm great at like starting stuff and then dropping stuff forever, and then just like despairing. So it was really quite remarkable that I even picked up the life map, that I even thought about goals. You know, it was quite remarkable that I was able to try and not just give up on it. And I'm not saying that it would have been wrong for me to give up. I'm not saying that anybody should be expected to keep working on whatever. But I was just pleased that I did, because I think it was good for me. So quarter three, the theme was really just an attempt to find joy or meaning or something, anything, an attempt to find anything. Sorry, my hair's like drying and like it's kind of going different directions and I can't control it. So my main goal was learn about branding. I've always wanted to learn about like logo design and brand design kind of stuff. I work in design and marketing. And then my mini goals were read one Japanese story a week and have fun exercising. Okay, so the learning goal with learn about branding, I think learning goals are good, even if it's not a SMART goal or whatever, because it just allows room for exploration. You can take it whatever direction you want, because I mean, you don't know yet what you don't know. Like, you don't know where you're gonna go with it. So I was doing like Skillshare courses, reading some design books that I have, looking at other designers' work. I kept it pretty low key. The Japanese stories goal I did for fear of dropping Japanese entirely, because I stopped my italki lessons. I was canceling them when I had to like move out of my house for a few days during the uprising. And then my grandpa's stuff was going on, so I just stopped doing that entirely. I did keep up with Anki, but I took a break from my kanji cards, which was probably a mistake as far as retention goes, and I'm still working on building that back up. So I just wanted to do something in Japanese every week. That was actually like interesting, kind of more interesting than flashcards. And then the have fun exercising one was mostly a joke, like not like a haha joke, but it became just kind of a joke because I was just not in the space for it. I tried to make space for myself by calling it have fun, because I was just so desperate to get exercising into my life, because it kind of was in like 2019 or 2018, but I dropped it, and during a fucking pandemic, you want to be healthy, Christ. So I really wanted to start exercising again. I tried to make it fun. I did have some fun. Me and my boyfriend would do yoga together sometimes. We would play badminton. That was really nice. During the summer, playing badminton in the backyard with my boyfriend, really fucking nice. Really nice to just like get my head out of everything going on and just like do something really childlike and enjoyable. I have really good childhood memories of badminton. And anyway, so I actually, with the branding one, I actually ended up, by the end of it, the last month and a half, I was working on a logo and a brand package for my friend for her small business, which is incredible. Normally I would not like just jump into that, but I was like, hey, yo, like we were talking about it. I was like, I'll do it for free and because I don't know what I'm doing, and like we'll just talk back and forth, and like it'll be a learning experience for both of us. And we came up with something that she really liked, so that was really cool to actually, and I mean, I'm sure most of the learning happened during that, right? Like you learn by doing, whatever. So that was fucking dope. Check. Learn about branding. Check. I learned. Read one Japanese story a week. Mostly check. Okay? Like basically, yes, I did. The intention of the goal was completed, even if I missed a couple weeks. Have fun exercising. Yeah. Okay. At the end of this quarter is when we adopted my kitten, Fern, who you've probably seen, I hope. She's very cute. And that just really brought a lot of life to the house that was needed. So that was really good. And that took up a lot of my time. Quarter 4, this is the quarter that I would call, so embarrassing, ready to rumble. Ready to rumble, LOL, is what I wrote. I don't know what else to call it, because this was just a time where I was like, I want to progress in things. I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to just maintain, okay? So my main goal was daily Japanese time. Another vague boy. I mean, it's not that vague, pretty specific, but it wasn't based on like, I'm gonna hit this level. I'm gonna complete this thing. No, I'm gonna spend time with Japanese every day. That's it. Mini goals, learn to meditate and knit my first sweater. Mini goal? Come on, I really got kind of lofty. It's not very mini, is it? The whole fucking project. One throwback to the last 2 quarters. Here's where the yoga and the have fun exercising were actually successes, because I learned I don't currently have the internal motivation necessary to make myself exercise. I know how to exercise. I know what to do. I know it all. It's not enough. Like, it wasn't working. So I hired a virtual personal trainer during quarter 4, unrelated to my goals. I was just like, I need to do something. I need to exercise. I need to. So I did that, and that accountability has been incredible. And I work out 3 times a week, and I've been doing it for like 3 months, and I feel strong as fuck. So yeah, I mean, the success is learning what works for you and what doesn't work for you, right? So that was a huge fucking win. Okay, back to the point, everybody. Can we please focus? Yeah, I wanted to focus on progressing in Japanese again, having fun in Japanese again, not just maintaining my Japanese, not just focusing on my flashcards or whatever, because it's so boring. It's so boring. So when I was mind mapping my how, I wrote out my weaknesses. So speaking, still and forever. So from that I wrote italki. Vocab. My vocab still sucks. Like, I love grammar so much more than vocab. So I gotta make my own fucking sentence cards, because I've just been using the core 2000 deck up till that point, and just very lazy, like adding 5 cards every day. Like, all right, keep them coming. Yeah, economy, business, company president. Keep showing me the words. Not like awful. So I needed to start making my own sentence cards again. I kind of lightly did it, not really, back in the day. Listening, gotta watch Terrace House, gotta listen to podcasts, etc., etc. And I wrote out some measurable milestones for myself. Time spent. I'm still clocking my fucking time, so by the end of this year, I'm gonna have like a whole picture, which is cool. Completing Genki. I still hadn't completed Genki 1 entirely, so I really just wanted to finish it, because that was another, like 10-year book that I just want to finish. Italki, number of sentence cards made. I don't fucking count the number. Who cares? Graded reader completion and catching up with kanji cards. That's still not done. I'll do it someday. I'm working on it, okay? Back up. I'm just slow about it. But anyway, it was a huge fucking success, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was good. That was a good quarter. Because I restarted my italki lessons, which I was very scared to do. Caught back up on Tobita. Finished Genki once and for all. I started sentence mining Anki cards like a pro from video. Thank you, Ruby. My queen. We fucking did mini immersion. Like, we started the mini immersion event. I mean, it was more or less just like for me and Ruby. We wanted to do it, and then we're like, let's see if other people want to do it. So that was cool to spend a weekend immersing. I had fun, and then I also became less lonely in my language learning because up till, you know, the past couple months, like I was just doing shit by myself. But then I joined Instagram, and it's been great. Meditation, I really just wanted to like calm myself down a bit, like be able to kind of ruminate less, basically. And that was pretty good. I kind of did less of it by the end of the quarter. I was kind of dropping it a little bit, but then I started having horrible sleeping problems where I was just like ruminating and freaking out until like 3 a.m. And that felt like the boss battle of the quarter or the year, the meditation boss battle. So I started doing guided sleep meditations, which I think counts, whatever. Same fucking skills, okay? Back up. Stay away from me. So yeah, I beat the boss, I guess. I'm doing all right. Knit my first sweater. We had a great start. Me and the sweater had a great start, all right? It's knit in quadrants. It's a cardigan. It's knit in quadrants, and I knit the first quadrant, and that's where I learned the importance of gauge swatches, okay? Any knitter out there is like cringing right now hearing this. I knit it way too big because when I did my first gauge swatch, where is it? All right. This is knitters only. Everyone else can turn it off. This was my first gauge swatch. That's a really tiny gauge swatch for a whole ass sweater. So stupid. So yeah, I knit it too big. This is my actual gauge swatch now. So yeah, I had to undo it all. I blocked it. I had to undo that quadrant of the sweater. And that just kind of slowed me down a bit. Also, I did most of my knitting of that during election week, watching results. So I wasn't really doing anything else. So yeah, I just like, my knitting slowed down. So I did not complete my first sweater, but I certainly started it, and I probably will finish it at some point. Those were my goals for 2020. That's how I kind of adjusted my bullshit. That's how I kind of learned from the stuff that wasn't working. There was more stuff. There's a lot of experimenting I did with like habits specifically. Maybe I could talk about at some point. It was just kind of a little too nitty gritty to go into now. But yeah, that was my year. I hope this was useful to hear about. Maybe I'll share once I've settled on my quarter one goals. Let me know if that is something you'd want to hear about. Let me know if any of this was interesting or helpful. Let me know how you're doing. That's all I got. So I'll see you guys around.